All aboard to the CIRF train. We are headed towards Sagittarius. We've got a lot of new changes this week, and that's why I'm wearing a silly little conductor's hat. I will be your conductor this evening on this new journey, a very positive week coming up. Folks, we've got both yin and yang all in alignment for some really nice changes coming up. And so I hope you stick with me to the end for the big solution slide. But here's what we have for the summary. We have a lot going on in the astrology, and we'll go drill down each day. But we have Mercury going direct as of the day today, where I'm recording this on the 20th. So this weekly broadcast is for the 21st of November through the 27th. So we have Mercury going direct, already direct, the Sun moving into Sagittarius, Venus moving out of Sagittarius into Capricorn, and Venus conjunct Jupiter happens later on in the week. We have tons of Uranus aspects and a new moon. So a lot going on in astrology. We have the dream bot that seems to be all over most of this astrology. So this green circle here pretty much covers the entire purple circle, which the purple is the astrology, green is the dream bot, and then we have the I-Ching, which is all yin, and it's the receptive, and it has no change lines. So the influence is the solution, and we have a very high congruency score. We have to be receptive to the inevitable new. Let's get started with the dream bot. This is something I've left out last time. It wasn't on purpose. But here we have, if you notice down at the bottom, the collection of memes. The red arrows I clumped in together because sometimes it's hard to differentiate between ego and thoughts. But we have definitely a Mercury and Sun sort of feel to it. We have our personality, comments, self, stories, the stories we tell ourselves in our head. There's a lot of noise in the mind, represent an idea. Anyway, there's a lot of Mercury and Sun in the red signs. Then blue is clearly about change, but there's some pretty cool words here like relief and easy. There is a lot of easy energy in the form of trines and sextiles this week. It's not completely trines and sextiles, obviously, but it does make the energy easy. So even the dream bot is all over that. Then we have Sagittarius, and I'll explain later why Sagittarius is such a big deal. But this is kind of the wide open field of Sagittarius. There's a path, there's a truck, wide open. The truck's just going everywhere, anywhere it wants, or it can stay. It's about staying or going. And that's just open to infinite amount of possibilities. All right. So Dreambot, this is the collective unconscious is seeing all that stuff in the stars. Let's head into the astrology and get my little highlighter out. We have a little bit left over. See these vertical bars, these black bars, lines are the window. We're inside of this window from the 21st to the 27th. And you can see some of these things are left over from last time, such as we were talking about Mercury trine Neptune. So that remains. And because Mercury was in retrograde, it's going to go exact again towards the end of our window, or a little bit after our window. And so the thoughts being sort of dreamy are still going to be there. Maybe imagining new things, or maybe illusions. You might even be thinking about escape. Neptune is the artist of illusion, but also escapism. So drug use, alcohol. So you might be thinking or having mental cravings for those escape mechanisms. The Venus square Neptune is at the very tail end. I'm not including that in our day-to-day report because it's towards the end of that window. Mars oppose Uranus, we talked about last time, and that's going to go exact towards the middle of our week from Wednesday to Wednesday, so that would make it the weekend. And that is going to produce a lot of change, and change on your willpower moving forward. There's going to have to be an adjustment or some balancing between change and how you're putting forth your effort and getting things done. Also, we have Jupiter trine Uranus, which is something we also talked about. That's not going exact for a while, but that's going to be a major part of our report. I'll talk about that later. And then we have Venus conjunct Jupiter. That was hitting on the last part of the last CIRF report. It's going exact again on the weekend. We'll get into that. So now let's get this off and let's talk day to day. I will have some charts for you, but I found it not necessary to talk about each day's chart. Thursday, for example, we talked about a lot of these things already. The Uranus aspects are all about change. Mars is asking you to change how you do things. And then the trine to Jupiter is very positive, optimistic, maybe overly optimistic, but nonetheless, it's easy energy, easy to be optimistic about change. Okay. And it's could be wide open. Jupiter is kind of a higher wisdom kind of thing. So change in the level of wisdom that you have. But we also have, the Mercury and Neptune we already talked about, and the Mercury direct. All that for Thursday, the 21st. Let's move on to Friday. And some big things are starting to happen here on Friday. At 9 a.m., it's the ego's search for deeper meaning. In other words, Sun going into Sagittarius. Right in here, the big circle. And meanwhile, there's an inconjunct over to Uranus. So there's going to be some adjustments. The inconjunct means there's needs to be some adjustments made, probably based on the changes that you're seeing from the other things we talked about. You have, we didn't talk about Venus and Jupiter, but we did talk about Jupiter, but not Venus. So Venus, change in the relationship, or change in harmony, or change in your financial situation. And, the trine denotes a sort of positive, but definitely an easy change. So it's going to be easy to change that. And the Sun going into Sagittarius is wide open. That's the idea for the conductor's hat. It's a train. It's a runaway train. It's not like a train can just stop real easy. Once it gets going, it might take it a while, and that's the only difference. Not really a train. Sagittarius obviously is a centaur or a horse, and a horse just wants to impulsively go and go and go and go and go. And so this Sun is coming out of the deeper Scorpio waters emotion and saying, woohoo, I'm free. So on Friday morning, the energy is definitely shifted. Ego, amongst all this change and adjustment, is seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, or the freedom to explore. Now Sagittarius and Jupiter are also a little bit different in terms of like higher wisdom, deeper meaning, that kind of thing. So that's why I have the ego's search for, higher purpose or deeper meaning or more wisdom. But it's not a lonely thing, as we're going to see with Venus. We're going to talk about that later. All right, let's head into Saturday. Saturday is more easy energy, but these are going to be good for assimilating what the ego changes have been, i.e. Sun in conjunct Uranus. So we have 3 trines, 3 sextiles. It's easy energy. Saturday, easy day, easy to assimilate, even though things are changing, and every time you have a change, we have an adaptation being made. Well, this is saying that it's going to be easy to adapt. All right, Sunday. Sunday is going to be expansive, optimistic, harmonious, and both of those, I'm talking about Jupiter and Venus going conjunct. You can see both of those here in Sagittarius, by the way. are trining over to Uranus. So this optimistic feeling of relationship and harmony is being changed, and easily changed. And it's very optimistic. Jupiter very optimistic, and Venus being very harmonious and never wants to be conflicted. And so we have really great weekend in store for relationships, and very optimistic and expansive, deeper meaning even. That's very commensurate with the sun going into Sagittarius. So nothing to be warned about. It is just sit by and watch the changes happening and observe and assimilate and be grateful. But I'll get to that solution here later. All right, after the weekend's over, on Monday, the 25th at 6:30 p.m. is when, which is kind of ironic, but Venus, the one we've been talking about in Sagittarius, is now moving out of Sagittarius. So imagine that long, flat pasture that Venus was in, exploring the world. And now the couple, so Venus, imagining a couple walking across the pasture and now starting to see the land rising above them, maybe hills, maybe mountains, but it's starting to climb. And that's what Capricorn is all about, is climbing to the top of the mountain, the goat, and goals and objectives. It's not, it can be hurdles, it could be rocks in the way and having to get around those, but it is about getting on top of those rocks. It's the urge to climb above and achieve, and it can get overwhelming, but this is the harmonious Venus going into Capricorn. So the relationship itself starts to see new goals, see new hills to climb. And there again, it doesn't mean you have to start climbing all that right now. It means this is a really good time for planning and committing to certain goals. Forget January 1st and your new resolutions. Those don't work anyway. Wait for Monday and get with your loved one or your close relationships and start seeing a new vision now and start planning that now. Especially with that trine still over to Uranus. Uranus is begging for change. It's going to enforce a sudden change. And so you could be a part of that creative force with the new goal sets from Capricorn. And meanwhile, Sun is semi-sextile to Mars. So now we have the power, the ego has the power to climb that Capricorn mountain. And the ego buys into relational goals. So this here, semi-sextile, is very positive to bring your yang into the whole yin mix. And I'm going to explain why I keep saying yin and yang here in a second. That I just realized that all that depiction is at the end of the video. All right, now Tuesday, the exciting new moon in Sagittarius at 4 degrees 3 minutes. And we have not just the new moon happening. This is 9:05 a.m. But we also have a couple things happening. We have relational yang, the ability for a relationship to move forward. That's Venus sextile Mars. And we also have Sun semi-sextile Mars. So the ego is going to continue to adjust and see the opportunities in things. All right, now the new moon is right here, 4 degrees 3 minutes Sagittarius, and it too has the same aspects that we were noticing before. So new moons are a new phase anyway, but now we've got all these aspects over to Uranus, and all of them, pretty positive. I mean, inconjuncts are adjustments. And so we are adjusting to the new us, the new ego, the new deeper wisdom us, the new introspective us, the real deep thinker, but the long distance, the long-term planning us, and in relationally, the new goals that we have in our relationship. It might even have a new source of finance or a new, Venus can also be finance. So those changes might be coming as well. The new cycle is best going to be described by the I-Ching solution. And as we get closer, hopefully I'll be able to do another report for a special report just for that new moon, so you can see, so we can hone in on the best energy at that time, plus or minus maybe 12 to 24 hours. All right, so then what I finally want to highlight is Wednesday. This is our final day. Look at all these positive aspects. Now the dashed lines are dashed because it's on the waning side of this particular aspect. And so all we're left with are sextiles and trines and conjunctions. It's beautiful. It's all clear on Wednesday. All right, let's head into the I-Ching reading for the 21st through the 27th. We were asking for the biggest energy. And if there is the I-Ching, when we cast these coins, we normally have change lines. And so in this CIRF report, we ask for the change line, the second hexagram, to be the solution. But if the influence is the solution, then there's no change lines. And that's exactly what we had. We have hexagram 2, which is all yang, all yin, all female energy. It's the receptive. But the Book of Changes calls it the field, which is crazy because of that whole Sagittarius thing. And anyway, so let's talk about hexagram 2 and what that means. I'm going to read directly from the Book of Changes. Benefit is in expecting changes. Isn't that incredible with all the Uranus aspects and the new moon? There's a lot of change coming. Only having realized necessity and inevitability of cataclysms during transition from one state to another, it is possible to man and overcome difficulties. Stop dawdling and spinning the wheels. Earth is passive female origin. It is time of compromise. Firmness and tenacity are necessary for achieving the desired goal, but also obedience is needed to go in the direction subordinating impulse of creativity. Creativity is the yang aspect. Creativity, the creative force, is hexagram number 1, all yang, and then 2 is all yin, which is the earth over earth, and the female energy, and the idea of being receptive. And it completes the cycle in this yin-yang format. And it's not. I like this diagram from the images option to me, because in this particular week, it's the yin and the yang are going to be really meshed together. And so this diagram really enforces that really well, I think. And it's not clear, where the boundaries are between yin and yang. We're going to need both. And we're going to have both. We've got the sun going into Sagittarius, a fire sign. We've got some positive aspects with Mars. We've got the Mars opposed Uranus. So a lot of Mars in there, and that Sagittarius yang energy in the sun. And then we also have the yin aspects, and indicated here with the hexagram 2. But finally, let me read this. The hexagram is made up of broken lines only. The broken lines represent the dark, yielding, receptive, primal power of yin. The attribute of the hexagram is devotion. Its image is the earth. It is perfect complement of the creative, the complement, not the opposite. For the receptive does not combat the creative, but completes it. It represents nature in contrast to spirit, earth in contrast to heaven, space as against time. The female maternal is against the male paternal. However, as applied to human affairs, the principle of this complementary relationship is found not only in the relation between man and woman, but also in that between prince and minister and between father and son. Indeed, even in the individual, this duality appears in the coexistence of the spiritual world and the world of the senses. So, does that get us any closer to what the solution is? I know that was all kind of confusing, but I'm going to nail this down to, oh, here we go. There is the final slide. This is the conclusion, CIRF summary. And we see the influence here was both yin and yang, but it's all about new, in the inevitable new. We've got the new moon. We've got all the aspects to Uranus. We've got Mercury going direct. We've got Sun going into a new sign, Sagittarius. We've got Venus leaving Sagittarius, going into Capricorn. So just a ton of cool stuff, including that Venus conjunct Jupiter. Lots of positive energy. And so now the best solution is hexagram 2, receive thy blessings. Open your heart, grateful and in faith that the right outcome is the way everything is meant to be. Reduce and eliminate your tension. That goes to the ACT therapy concept of acceptance and commitment therapy. Wonderful model for living, not just a therapy, but a way of life. Acceptance. Increase your acceptance in this next week. Also introspect, bringing in the Sagittarius, the Sun in Sagittarius. It's also a time for deeper meaning, introspection. But also, don't forget, the receptive has to be present in the experience. You have to be present in the experience to receive the blessings of that experience. And also, that's the whole concept between the hexagram 1 and hexagram 2. Hexagram 1 produces the creative energy to put the item out into the world, and it's up to the yin and the reception of us, our awareness, to bring and fully manifest that creation in. So 1 can't create without 2. Man can't create without woman, and vice versa. So keep continuing to work hard. There's a lot of Capricorn energy for us to keep working hard as well. And you've got the Mars aspects. Recognize the new goals ahead, i.e. new moon and Venus in Capricorn. So a lot of different goals. And our goals are going to be both ego. The ego wants deeper meaning for self, but the Venus wants goals and a complementary team type of goal for the Capricorn influence. Okay. I know there's a lot of parts and pieces here, but read through this list again. It includes all of the hexagram 2, and as well as a couple of hints from the energetic forces in the stars above us. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate you being here. And just enjoy this next week. Be present. Be fully present. No escaping. And manifest the best life that is already there for you. Okay? Thanks. We'll see you next week.